The war table. The Galactic Conclave's holographic war room hummed with the cold light of 3 suns. Grand Commander Vrethael of the Sovereign Choir pressed 6 of his 12 fingers together and stared at the rotating blue marble on the projection disc. Earth. Designation: Class 15 Deathworld. The most hostile biosphere ever catalogued in 4,000 years of interstellar record-keeping. The humans have rejected our third ultimatum, said Admiral Sakara, her serpentine neck coiling with anxiety. They transmitted one word back. 1. Vrethael did not look up. What word? The room went quiet. Even the processors seemed to hold their breath. No. What the scouts reported. Lieutenant Commander James Bull Harrison of the United Earth Defense Force was a broad-shouldered man from Oklahoma who had once wrestled a wild boar for sport and considered it a Tuesday. He sat across from the alien diplomat Consul Dravak and folded his hands on the metal table. Dravak's compound eyes reflected Harrison's calm face 12 times over. He had reviewed the scouts' reports. Every single one. The scouts had observed human soldiers running, voluntarily, through something called Death Valley in temperatures that would cook conclave biology in minutes. They had watched humans submerge themselves in ice water and call it training. They had recorded footage of human athletes deliberately breaking their own bodies and returning, repaired, more dangerous than before. One scout had submitted a report titled, "Subject was bitten by a venomous reptile, applied crude field dressing, and continued the engagement. Request medical leave. My mind needs rest." Dravak had approved the leave immediately. The numbers don't lie. General Marcus Webb, retired, recalled, and annoyed about it, stood before the full Conclave Strategy Council in the orbital station above Earth. He had been assigned as the human liaison. He hadn't volunteered. He tapped a data tablet and looked at the assembled alien commanders with the particular expression of a man who had stopped being impressed by things a long time ago. You want a breakdown of why attacking Earth is bad math? He pulled up the first screen. 70% of Earth's surface is ocean. Average depth, 3,800 meters. Your submersible units operate at a max of 900 meters before structural failure. Ours operate at 6,000, and our soldiers can survive open ocean without a vehicle for extended periods. He tapped again. The next screen showed mountain ranges, desert systems, and Arctic zones, each color-coded. The remaining 30% of land includes 6 major desert systems, for polar regions, 14 active volcanic zones, and approximately 47,000 species that will kill you before our military even shows up. He set the tablet down. That's not counting weather. Admiral Sakara's translator unit crackled. Weather? Webb nodded slowly. We have weather. The simulation. Conclave War Strategist Felm 9 ran the invasion simulation for the 43rd time. The result was the same every iteration. They had the numbers. They had the fleet tonnage. They had the Sovereign Choir's finest ground forces, battle-hardened across 9 planetary campaigns. On paper, the Conclave should win in 8 planetary rotations, what the humans called days. On paper, the simulation's problem was the humans themselves. They did not behave like conquered species. Every model assumed that once casualties crossed a certain threshold, typically around 30%, a species' military would fracture. Humans, the simulation noted with something approaching digital alarm, had historical records of fighting at 90% losses and calling it a victory because the objective was held. Felm 9 flagged the anomaly and added a note. Recommend recalibrating acceptable loss parameter. Human threshold appears to be alive. The simulation ran again. Same result. The Conclave would win the first engagement, and the second, and the third. By the fourth, the simulation predicted the humans would have adapted their tactics, reversed 2 supply lines, and begun attacking in a manner the model had no classification for. It labeled the behavior irrational persistence. Felm 9 quietly renamed it Doom. Harrison explains it simply. Consul Dravak, who had been alive for 230 years and had negotiated the surrender of 11 worlds, found himself sitting across from Bull Harrison again. He had requested the meeting personally. He needed to understand one thing. Your planet, Dravak said carefully, kills you routinely. Your own biosphere, the storms, the animals, the temperature extremes, it kills many of your people every year. Harrison nodded. Yep, and you have adapted to survive it. More or less. Dravak's translation unit paused, recalibrated. So when a foreign military arrives, an organized, technologically superior force, you perceive them as. Harrison tilted his head. Tuesday, he said. Dravak stared at him. It means something routine, something we've seen before. Harrison leaned back in his chair with the casual ease of a man fundamentally unbothered by the universe. Look, Consul, we didn't get to the top of a Class 15 Deathworld by being easy to kill. You want to invade? Go ahead. We've been training for harder things since before we had written language. He paused. Do you want some coffee? I just brewed a pot. Dravak did not know what coffee was. He accepted anyway. It was the most terrifying thing he had ever tasted, and Harrison drank 3 cups without blinking. The commanders finally understood. Grand Commander Vrethael reviewed Felm 9's final simulation report in silence. The war table cast blue light across his face. Around him, the senior staff of the Conclave's most powerful fleet waited for his order. He read the last line of the report one more time. Projected outcome at maximum force deployment. Initial victory followed by prolonged attrition. Human adaptation rate exceeds Conclave countermeasure development by a factor of 2.3. Estimated campaign duration, indefinite. Estimated Conclave survival probability at campaign end, 12%. Recommendation, do not engage. 12%. Against a species that had no interstellar travel 50 years ago. Against a species that still poisoned itself with that burning black liquid and thought it was normal. Against a species that had crawled to the top of the most dangerous biosphere in the known galaxy by simply refusing, over and over and over across 100,000 years, to die. Vrethael set the report down. Open a channel to General Webb, he said quietly. Admiral Sakara blinked. For what purpose, Commander? Vrethael's 12 fingers pressed together. Outside the viewport, Earth turned slowly below them, indifferent and beautiful and absolutely lethal. To ask, he said, if they would consider a trade agreement instead.